Hey, welcome to episode 175 of the Collector's Quest podcast. We actually recorded an episode before this that I guess will come out later, but this episode we ended up talking so much about the Karl Jobst video, which everyone is talking about, or at least was a couple days ago, that I figured it made more sense to edit this real quick and get this out there. Because who doesn't want another take on the Karl Jobst video? Actually, the real topic of this episode was whether pop reports really matter, what their effect on the market is going to be, why Wata isn't releasing them, at least how it will affect the majority of collectors, and not just that top end market. So tell your mom about the show, give us 5 stars in iTunes, and let's go. All right, Johnny, let's, Hey, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler, here with Johnny. Stefan is putting his kid to bed, might come in later. What's going on, Johnny?
You know, just hanging out. Nothing much has happened to the world of video games, so I figured we could just do like a kind of a quick episode. You know, not a lot of noise or anything. I haven't bought much, so yeah, this should be like a 25, 30-minute episode.
There are shocking allegations, Johnny. Shocking. I heard that this default gen guy was involved somehow.
Oh yeah. Did you manage to bring our name into all of this somehow?
I didn't, damn it. I should have been like, should have added a Collector's Quest somewhere, get my name out. No. Johnny, this is going to be edited a week late unless I'm Superman and decide to edit this tomorrow. This isn't going to be the whole episode, but the Jobst report came out.
Don't call it a fucking report. God.
That's what that Seth guy called it in his article. The Jobst report. Or is it the Jobst report? I don't know.
I don't. Just...
I wish I knew we were talking about this in advance. I would have rewatched the video so I could agree with or rebut certain points. From what I remember of the video, it was a pretty good recap of some of the nonsense going on in graded games to Karl's audience, who are not game collectors. Karl, of course... not a game collector. He is an amazing video game player. He's a speedrunner, known for his amazing prowess at GoldenEye.
Here, let me take a moment to say how much I hate that video, if for nothing else, for all the questions I've had to answer by people who don't collect games, who are just like, Johnny, have you seen this thing? I'm like, yes, aunt I haven't spoken to in 9 months who happened to heard I collect video games. Yes, I've heard about this thing. Oh, well, be careful that you don't get scammed and lose all of your money.
You know, buying Harry Potter games from Japan and like rare GBA games.
I'm scamming myself every time I purchase a stupid game. Okay? I have been doing so for a long ass time. I don't need the help of any other companies. I don't really want to talk about the whole video. I have strong feelings on it. I know a lot of people in the community, a lot of the retro game fam have strong feelings about that. But yeah, I don't really want to go into a whole blow by blow because there are people, I mean, it's all over, right? I can say the video is correct in some areas and then incorrect in others. And I think there's a lot of confirmation bias out there. I think a lot of people just don't like what sealed games have brought to collecting, and therefore anything that seems damaging or, sinister that appeals to them. And they're just like, yeah, fuck Wata and fuck sealed games. Thumbs down, So I think that that kind of video appeals to them. My major criticism of that whole video, though, is the complete lack of timelines, and the fact that people call it reporting. That's pretty loose. I have a degree in journalism, so, journalism is basically dead. And this was journalism in the school of partisan media journalism. It's pick one, whatever side of the rope you're on, just pick one. It's either CNN for you or Fox News. So, just pick one of those and feel how much you hate them for their bullshit and their inaccuracies. And, that's basically kind of what this video was. And I didn't like the tact, and I didn't like that because he was on Video Game Sage and, he's like, well, I made this for my audience and they understand. And I abbreviated things and I was inaccurate on purpose, because my audience would understand. And he also said, nobody's got time to get everything right. It's like, well, if you're doing a report and you are going to defame potentially somebody, you should have time to get it right. And if you were thinking about brevity, a 52-minute fucking video, isn't it? Okay, that's like us saying quick episodes of the podcast 3 hours later.
More warranted to have that 52-minute video than that Seth guy's rambling narrative-style articles. But I do want to point out, so you're saying he's going into this with an agenda. I will say, I think Karl usually makes really excellent videos. I don't think this video was the worst. If you look into his reporting on the Dream cheating saga, he has basically gone into why everyone has had wrong takes on that, and that he has actually talked to everyone involved in that and done the research, and he probably has the best videos out. And I think he knows he has the best videos out because that was a cheating scandal that he tried to get to the bottom of. But I think he went into this video with the mindset of, oh, video games are selling for $2 million in the span of a couple years. That doesn't make sense. Let me find out, why this is a quote unquote scam. So he definitely had an agenda going to try to nitpick every little thing that was wrong in the graded games market, which there are very many valid criticisms, some of which I brought up in a YouTube video that didn't get a million views.
You mean we've criticized these things before?
You know what, Johnny? There might be some market manipulation going on in that graded games market. I just can't tell. Maybe everything's totally just normal and natural and organic.
Well, here. So one of my favorite things is, and we can let's not talk about this too much. Let's get on.
We're talking about it. It's
no,
what the people want to hear.
No, I don't want to. But let's cover the market manipulation thing. And just for transparency's sake, yeah, I am friends with Dennis. We talk from time to time, though I haven't talked to him in a while. And I'm not texting him right now because I'm sure he's just fucking buried. But at the same time, I've been critical and I own 0 graded games, and there's a reason for that. I just don't collect like that. It's not something I care about. People should know I don't care about the money. But the big thing, the market manipulation. He's like, and Dennis of Wada says he's out to grow the video game market. He's going to expand the market. It's like, yeah, I mean, he literally says that in every video. That's not. And then he flashes market manipulation in the video. It's like that. Yeah. I mean, he's growing a business. At the end of the day, it's a business and he's trying to expand it. And yes, he also says video games have been underpriced. He openly says video games are underpriced and I think they should be worth more. And I'm going to go start appealing to people in other hobbies and show them why this hobby deserves better recognition and has these actual rare gems, and equates it to action comics. And he said this on this show. It's this isn't a secret that they're well, this was his agenda. Yeah, that was his business plan, and that's marketing. Is there manipulation going on? Sure, maybe, but a lot of the instance where he called manipulation, I just called a business plan and trying to grow your business. Do you disagree with that? Am I on crazy pills?
No, I think you've hit the 2 points here. One is that none of this is really a secret. I think basically everyone who's really in deep in the video game shit all day, every day, living this, knew basically every single thing that came up in the video. Some people told me the Jim Halpern being involved in the 1980s coin bubble, because that's not really part of video games. But yeah, that it was. But
we even talked about that a couple episodes when we talked about the auction thing, and they bring up the lawsuits. But it's yeah, I think he at one point says they're guilty, but they're not. Settling is not the same thing as guilt.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, Johnny. You're bringing up a point that I do want to actually talk about with the video. I know we're not going to talk about the video, but I do want to bring up this point. This video was too long and tried to make too many points to the point where it started conflating arguments just because it was trying to get so many dunks in. So I'd say 4 things that the video tried to argue is that it would be really nice if real collectors owned all this stuff instead of investors, which, yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the first hot take. I'm just going to respond to that point. He's you would think that it was video game collectors buying this that are trying to complete their sets. No, you wouldn't. No, nobody who is no one collecting complete sets as like a premier set collector in this thing. I'll say I'm in the upper echelon of set collectors. No one is fucking trying to do that sealed. Maybe there's a couple of people who have tried it. I know some people have tried it with Dreamcast, and you've got a few crazies out there, but that's not what set collectors are really doing. That's just incorrect. No one thinks that, like, oh, that $2 million Mario. Like, no one would even believe that was someone who was just trying to put it in their set. Also, not saying that there are many different iterations of that Mario that a set collector could put in is just a blatantly false slam and criticism. And, it equates like some level of falsity that does not really exist.
Yeah, and going into this, like, it would be nice if collectors who actually cared about the object owned like these weird $100,000 sealed games that are now like crazily priced, but that's never been how collectibles work. It's whoever spends the most money owns the things. Yeah, literally every price in collectibles is 100% made up.
But that's a value proposition, right? That's like saying that I think that only collectors should have the best thing like that. I mean, who are you to decide that? I mean,
exactly.
And that's never been how a market is decided ever.
I know. It's like a form of gatekeeping the collectible. And there's no prices. Like if a Charizard, once like it's rotated out of the card game and it's like purely just a nostalgia collectible thing. If it's $100, like, okay, that makes sense. If it's $10,000, like, okay, that makes sense. There's no right price for it. So there isn't an affordable price that I think you can say is correct to allow people to own these objects. Because, I mean, it's basically people are competing to own these objects is what collecting is.
Yeah, not everybody gets to own everything. Trust me, I've tried, and it's never going to happen for me.
That was more of a minor point. But the other things he brings up are market manipulation, just pure capitalism, which you've already talked about a bit, and then criminal fraud. So market manipulation, Johnny, it's the game that these people play, and it is both well known and not illegal in collecting markets because these aren't like regulated stock markets.
This isn't a regulated market?
Johnny, you could just buy out all the PSA 10 first edition Charizards and have a monopoly on the market. And then maybe go on Pawn Stars and show off your sick collection of PSA 10s and tout how you have the best card collection of all time because Charizard's the best card and these PSA 10s are the best thing. You could just do that, and so maybe some guy did that.
This is the other thing that fucking it drives me mad, right? Like it drives me mad because the whole Pawn Stars bit. Pawn Stars is entertainment television. Entertainment television only. This is not real. This is not like. That's
a bad argument because it's still hyping up what people bring stuff on there.
I don't care if they're hyping up. They're like, but people are like, it was unethical for him to be on Pawn Stars. It's like, guys, this is entertainment television. Yeah, and again, but it's exactly on brand. They're like, well, he shouldn't be allowed to say prices. It's like, no, that's a value judgment. You don't think he should be allowed, and maybe you have exceptions to it, and that's fine. We talked about whether we thought that was like fine or not a long time ago, but it's not like illegal. That's the thing. Like it makes it seem like something illegal or untoward has happened, and you can say maybe it's not the best look, but nothing illegal happened. Nobody was defrauded in that instance.
You're 100% correct, Johnny, and it sucks for collectors, but there's a portion of people in all of these markets, definitely not just video games, like, oh my god, cards and comics and coins and all this, but there's a portion of people who, for fun or profit, they like to corner the market, they like to pump and dump, they like to hype things, maybe make a podcast on the top 10 sales every single week in a certain category of items. And
like comics?
Hey guy, well, what's up, comic fam?
Yo, comic fam, this Comic Tom coming at you. Remember to hit the like button, slap the subscribe button. Come on, join the best comic collectibles app in the world, Key Collectibles. Okay, Comic Tom, thank you. I'll use your code Comic101. Thank you, Tom101. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
And so I think people get mad that the maybe unethical people that are doing this, certainly not illegal, but people are maybe hyping things unethically, whatever you want to call it. They're the most successful in these markets. So
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the people who are cornering, the people who are hyping, you may have what you think is the coolest thing. Like, look at me over here with my fucking Japanese quote unquote true first prints. Those will never be as valuable as the sealed Super Mario Brothers, because that's what has all the money and the hype behind it. Like, not like people buying it in money. I mean, like, the people who have money have a vested interest in making sure that stays the game.
Sure.
So
let's like one other thing. I had somebody message me, and they told me that your takes on everything WATA are more honest than mine, which I thought was interesting. An interesting choice. How many WATA graded games do you have?
I have a few that I graded in like 2018 and 2019 mostly. So there's a few that's not in this room with me that I literally, they got like B pluses and shit. So I just put them over in my, like, I don't want this in my collection because B plus is fucking garbage. Let me count, Johnny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 games on the shelf over there and 3 VGA games, Johnny.
And you've graded some other ones, though.
I've got like 5 or 6 graded that are like bullshit. You know, I've also got the 2 Steel Battalions, so I've got up to 13. Let's just add it all together. Let's say I have 20 graded video games.
All right, and Stefan has a couple. He's graded a couple. I'm gonna just come out and say my number. It's 0.
Whoa! How could you be a game collector and not have some WATA?
I don't. I mean, the people are just like, yeah, you're just a shill. I'm like, I don't. Have I ever recommended here that anyone go gets their games graded? Like, I just don't. I don't like it. So, yeah, that's not really advice that comes from me. I don't tell people not to grade their games.
To be clear,
yes,
like you have some nice sealed games, just that you happen to have.
Right. I mean, and when I sold Stefan the Genesis collection, there was a bunch of good sealed games in there. It's like, I don't care about that. And that was, WATA was a thing by then. Yeah, I take some umbrage to that. Also, I know we're kind of jumping all over. The fact that Pat the NES Punk was on there calling out some of this stuff, I'm like, wait, didn't you go on Pawn Stars? Like, he was on Pawn Stars, hyping up games like that. That would also be considered hype, right?
That's what
that might be.
Not a good argument.
Oh, not a good argument.
What aboutism is not a good argument?
I agree. I'm just saying, like, you can't call someone out for being on Pawn Stars when you yourself have been on Pawn Stars. Also, him going, the video game media needs to do better. I'm like, aren't you the video game media? Don't they report on video games like more often than we do? Like, I consider us edutainment, not like news. They're more news. I just thought a lot of that was weird.
I mean, I get, and like Pat has a lot of that true collector gatekeeping, and I mean, I don't mean to call it that, but that's really what it is. Like, people inherently don't want investors and market manipulators fucking up their hobby, so he's always like inherently against this, no matter how valid the criticism is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not into that. Like, do I want games to be more expensive? No. Like, trust me, it is put a big wet diaper all on my collecting. So like, and you too, obviously we're out there collecting other weird shit and making episodes, telling you other weird things you can do to, get away from all this nonsense that's going on right now. It struck me weird. Also, he's not like a sealed guy, much the same way I'm not a sealed guy. So I couldn't advise like, Karl in his video about sealed game collecting in that fact. I would be too biased. And then like Sean from Reserved Investments, I know you love him dearly, but he like those two were weird choices as the experts.
I don't think Sean is too weird of a choice just because his like actual job is to cover antiques and collectibles, even if he,
I know, but that's like a very niche, small thing. Like that's, I know a lot about games and I'm saying, I don't think I would be the right choice either. You would be a better choice than me. I would be a better choice than Sean. So like, I don't just see the appeal there.
Yeah. I was in his Discord while he was making that video. So I famously have been brought up, blacked out in a Karl Jobst tweet as someone who had tried to basically get Dennis to email Karl. Cause I knew this video was going to get a fuckload of views and I knew he was going to say stuff that Dennis would want to refute. So I tried to get him in advance so he'd be able to say something, but I guess he decided not to. And then I thought Karl would basically speak more about the video. Like, I was like casually just monitoring his Discord and basically nothing's happening in it. So I thought I would be able to like maybe add some more insight, hopefully, correct or clarify a few things before he actually put the video out. But then it was just like it dropped one day.
No, it's just a shit show.
And like he's basically created a bunch of mobs because like no one wants to have any nuance to the argument. They just see like a scam thumbnail and they're like, I knew it. Everyone's going to jail. Everything in this market is fake. Or everyone's on the other side, like nothing's fake. Everything is real. Mario 64 is worth $1.5 million.
Yeah, basically you have video game Sage, which is like half of them, like they've already got their torches and pitchforks, and you've got everyone in the water groups going, oh, look at all those dummies, scam me some more. Like that's like a thing I keep saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, John.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay, guys. I'm like this. Like, this is a very bad conversation. That's the other thing. As someone who enjoys hyperbole quite a bit, and like I like to be hyperbolic from time to time, I definitely didn't enjoy, how I hate YouTube hyperbole, and I hate YouTube face, and I hate all of that kind of nonsense, because it's just there to divide people and be clickbaity.
Sure.
And, I took exception to that. I did not like the way it was presented.
There's two more things I do want to bring up. So like the capitalism arguments in the video. So basically Dennis pumping the prices of games as he's making WATA games, or just even stuff like Go Collect buying out Game Value Now and shutting down Nintendo Age. Again, like market manipulation, like some of that sucks, but it's in the best interest of Go Collect to corner the market for information. Like that is capitalism, and capitalism is maybe not the most ethical system. So pointing out that the people with money are doing things that maybe hurt people to get more money happens in every industry. So it is not super surprising. I'm not cheerleading capitalism here. Like capitalism has some maybe negative effects. But
absolutely.
That is what's
careful though.
You're going
to get called a socialist.
Yes. So you go subscribe to me on the YouTube. We can't get into politics.
No, we cannot.
And the other thing, Johnny, is allegation. There's not really a specific allegation, but basically criminal fraud. There are a bunch of dots laid out in the video, and I don't believe a single one is connected to the point of being outright criminal fraud. Maybe like Jim Halperin's 1980s coin stuff, but again, that was settled out of court, so I don't think so. I don't think that was actually considered a criminal thing there. So, I mean, the main takeaway you see from people who watch this video are like, I knew it! WATA and Heritage were colluding to increase prices. Okay, except we don't know the buyers of almost any of this stuff, so how is that? That is a supposition based on some things that were laid out that would make you like think, like the whole idea of the video is to make you think like WATA and Heritage are specifically colluding in like the illegal way to increase prices rather than just quote unquote normal market manipulation. Synergy. What?
Like in another world, we call this brand synergy.
Sure, Johnny. I know you love that aspect of it.
No, I'm just saying, what is it? CGS just partnered with like Comic Link. They are people in an uproar about that partnership.
I don't know what the fuck CGS is. So,
all right. CGC. I'm sorry.
Services.
Whoa, CGC. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what that was. CGC partnered, at least in some small way, with Comic Link. They provide advertising material and stuff. Like, are people up in arms about this because they're working together? Look, I'm not saying it's right, but I am saying that both of those groups are business, much the same way WATA and Heritage are businesses. And if you're telling me that businesses operate in their own best interest and corporations do the same thing, and my opinion of corporate politics and how corporations and businesses are allowed to run wild and get these tiny fines in relation to the damage that they do, my opinion of that is not very high. But I'm also not naive, and I know that if you allow that legally, that of course they're going to do that. Why wouldn't they? You would say it is almost their responsibility, especially in a corporate sense, to be making as much money as possible.
Sure.
It's like, oh, did people forget that Heritage Auction, they're not some weird neutral party who doesn't give a shit. They're there to make money. They're trying to make money. Of course they want a better partnership. They're like, oh yeah, this is like a way for us to make better money. Yeah, cool. The whole argument, well, why didn't they start that? Like the video starts out, well, why didn't, Heritage use VGA, a company that had been around for 10 years? They just totally gloss over the fact that Dennis and all the people involved in WADA, especially at that time, especially if you count who was advising them, the sum of knowledge about video games, especially specific to NES, it was just not much of a greater collection of like standalone individuals and their direct knowledge is around. Definitely far greater than anything VGA knows or knew at that time about video games. They just kind of gloss over that. And I didn't like that either. It's a little misleading. They acted like, WADA just came out of nowhere and like these scammers saw an opportunity and were like taking their chance and they were just some know-nothings. Like that's not what happened either. So that was a little weird for me.
I'm looking forward to a follow-up video to see if there's any more nuance or anyone changes their opinion. But of course, no one's going to change their opinion on this because everyone made up their opinion already.
It's all, that's the problem. It's all like, confirmation bias or just like, or reverse confirmation bias, if that's a thing. Where people are just like, this is bullshit and outrage. They're just trying to take us down, the other side of it. And I'm living somewhere in the middle trying to be like, yeah, there's problems here, but this video is also problematic. So it's like, I don't like to heap problems on problems. Do I think like a basic call out is wrong? Not necessarily. Do I think calling it like criminal fraud? I'm like, well, that's a little extreme. Especially when all the issues weren't addressed correctly. And then like Dane's name got thrown in there and, he had to go on Video Game Sage and like show documentation that is like, I'm not involved in this. And again, because no timelines, it's like, this has nothing to do with me. My name is just being drug in the mud,
I will say, Johnny, if anyone thinks that there is a sale that WADA and Heritage colluded to increase the price on, what is it? Because Wade sold the $870,000 Zelda and the $1.5 million Super Mario 64, and he got paid. And Wade, I don't remember how far Wade goes back. I'm guessing Wade is not lying to us and he didn't sell this to himself, essentially. It's all been a very realistic saga of how long it took him to get paid and all that. So somebody bought Wade's games that is not him. Meaning, yes, whoever bought them likely has hundreds of other similar sealed games that stand to benefit enormously by causing all this hype in the market, making it look like games are worth all this money now. But you didn't need collusion to get there. It's just one guy who can buy something and he doesn't even have to say anything. It's just like, hey, Mario 64 is the most collectible game ever now, guys. Better example, you don't even have to have a
Mario. The Super Mario sold for
that Mario
for $2 million.
It probably sold to fucking Eric Nayerman because he has hundreds of Black Box games.
No, it sold to Rally. We even speculated like what the next, like in our video where we were talking about this.
The $2 million one was sold by Rally.
I thought Rally bought it.
No. Rally sold it. They bought it for like $140K or something like a year ago and then sold it for
my mistake.
$2 million.
I thought this was the one that Rally bought for $2 million. I thought they bought it for $2 million. I have my facts backwards there.
You sure?
I was like,
Goodwill just sold a Zelda for $400,000 to Eric Nayerman. What a surprise. Like Goodwill is not colluding to increase the price of that. He paid Goodwill $400,000. And then what does he do? Literally the day of the sale or the day after the sale, there's like him in the news and he's like, it's worth $600,000. Like it was an open auction and he just buys it and says it's worth $600,000. Again, not criminal fraud, market manipulation. Yeah, probably. But like, this is just what happens in these markets.
But is it market manipulation? Are you supposed to buy something like, that's the other thing. The market people are just buying the games, right? Which is establishing the prices. Like if everyone just took a stance, and said, I am not paying these prices and I never will, and just stop putting their money there, it would stop, right?
100% would, Johnny. Johnny, there are so many flippers flipping to flippers in this market, and yet prices are still going up because there are legitimate collectors getting FOMO, and they're just like, fuck, I gotta buy it. So, like, it's working, and it's kind of it's still people's own fault that prices are increasing.
Yeah, this is kind of why I've backed down from a lot of things. And like we've even said here, like, you're a bad example because you're a FOMO master general.
Absolutely. Give me every video game, Johnny.
We talk about like, hey, don't overbid in auctions because it just feeds the price. And the next one, my tactic is like a lot of times just to back out. I mean, we've had to adjust those strategies now because the market is crazy. Now, if you want something and you think it's a deal, you should probably get it. But also, I just back to what I was saying. I don't know what someone is supposed to do. Are they supposed to come out and say it is worth the price I paid for it? Or especially if you are buying as an investor, and we know that Eric Nierman is definitely an investor, right? And a lot of these guys are investors. Are they supposed to come out and be like, oh, I just paid market price, this is what it's worth? No, they obviously think it's an investment that will go up, and that they buy. It's a classic strategy, right? Buy low, sell high. Like this, are they supposed to come out and say it's worth less than they bought? Like,
and I mean, he's quoted in the Karl Jobst video of being like, I think this is like sports cards, and I'm going to get in before everyone else and buy out everything and be a billionaire in 5 or 10 years or whatever he said. And that was like showing like revealed what people are doing in the video games market. And you on Facebook, that's like what he's doing all the time. It's just what he says. He's just like, sell me all the black box games. You guys think it's a scam? You think it's going to crash? Sell me more of them. Because that's what he's doing. He's trying to get all the black box games.
Half the people in the WADA groups. They're like, yeah, sell me stuff. There's a whole group. That's a whole group think mentality over there. And that's the other thing. The market is like this, a very small group of individuals that is like driving this mindset. Are like poor people, collectors like me being, affected? Yeah, definitely. This is not my preference.
Johnny, so you say like there's a very small group of people on like the super high end. Like, God, I want to know if like every single one of the high end, like super high end sales is just like one or two guys, and like this is all just like nothing. It's all just like it's trying just to trick like a couple people into buying all their stupid shit. But I don't know. I don't think like some people call the video a nothing burger because a lot of it was known to the people who are really paying attention. But I mean, like
when most of your research is Google,
there's concerns in
there. It's like this was all Google stuff. We brought up some of this. That's the other thing. It's like, oh yeah,
we don't have
deep
the audience.
Investigative reporting. It's like, well, anyone can read an SEC filing. Just there's ways to get all this information, and it's called Google. It's like not the hardest, deepest things to find.
Well, we've done similar quote unquote reporting when we looked into it was Rally. I think we went through the SEC filings, and it's just like a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. Anyone is capable of that though. That's what, but people are saying like, oh, they're hiding stuff. And it's like, well, most of the stuff was public.
Yeah.
In some fashion or not. That doesn't excuse it, right? That's like, okay, the Carolina collection thing, like that's the other thing. Like didn't get sold through Heritage, it got sold through Comic Link, right?
It's been sold all over the place.
So some of them came back, but I think it was reported initially that like he sold through Heritage, but I think Heritage told them, Go Collect initially, no, you cannot sell that here. That's going to be a really bad take for us. So it was forced elsewhere. And then it has since trickled back in through people who bought through there and then have come back to Heritage, which is not Heritage's fault. But who knows? Jeff could still be releasing stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and speculate. The other thing there,
I'm just going to say that seems incredibly wrong to me, Johnny, because that Mega Man that sold for like almost $100,000, that was in 2019, and that was Carolina Collection. So
yeah, but where was it sold? Like, was that sold privately first, or do we know it was Jeff who sold it? Like,
I don't know, Johnny.
Like, can they never?
Heritage knows all this shit. They know how many buyers and sellers there are. They know everything. God damn it! I want to be Heritage. They know how fake or real this market is.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to know too, but I also don't feel like I'm entitled to that information because there's nothing that says I should be entitled to that information. That's not.
I mean, obviously,
corporates don't.
Buyers and sellers stay anonymous all the time for these sales.
Yeah, but people say like, "Oh, we need to know. Like, you need to tell us." And it's like, well, it would be nice if we did know, but I don't think anyone's legally compelled to do so. There's a lot of things that were like pretty out there, loose in that video, and that like. It's a shame because if you're going to go through the effort of a 52-minute video, he's like, well, no one's got time to get everything right. It's like, well, if you're doing a 2-minute video, you have time to do a little better. Especially when like people conflate like the quality of like production quality with the quality of facts. And that's not correct. But, if you've got just a shitty video and that guy, Seth, his article, right? Like that thing was a nightmare. I don't know if he could have all of the right facts, but I said on our Discord that it was written like a child in the middle of it seems like it was written by a child in the middle of a fever dream because that's how it reads. It's insanity. So he could have a bunch of great facts. I would know because it was so all over the place, even though I read the whole thing.
You read that whole God, it's so long. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about Proof. I guess it's called Proof. It's Seth Abramson, who thinks he is the Bob Woodward of video games. Like I don't know how else to put it. He's a political reporter, but for some reason has gone off on. He's made like DIY WATA grading reports of like what public sales there have been, and so they're not population reports, but they're like numbers of unique copies that he's seen for sale on public marketplaces, which is a useful metric, but it's nowhere near as useful as a population report would be, I guess. But he just has the worst takes on it. So the article name is Breaking News: National Video Game Scandal Deepens as Purchaser of Historic Super Mario Bros. Game is revealed to have represented himself as a co-founder of company that graded it and set its value. What a mouthful. So what that headline is purporting is that Rich Lecce, one of the guys who bought Super Mario Brothers and one of the genuine, probably biggest video game collectors in the world, is that he's a co-founder of WATA, which I don't think is something that is known or alleged outside this article, except it just has one sentence somewhere in this word vomit that says, like, we have received a digital document that proves this. And then everything else in this article is fucking nonsense. So the one breaking news thing he alleges, he has no proof, and he's not like, there's no source, there's no receipts. And then the rest of it is Jesus. So one of the narratives he goes down in this fucking article is that the sticker sealed Mario, it was originally graded a VGA 85 plus, and he says it needlessly got regraded to WATA. First of all, it's like completely up to you if you want to regrade it in a different holder because you either like the security more or you like that it mentions what variant it is. It's up to you. It's not a conspiracy.
Heritage Auction doesn't sell VGA graded games.
I forget. This might have been before they were selling games at all. I mean, and this wasn't even selling on Heritage. But yeah, a perfectly valid reason to reholder a game with a different company. So his claim was that an 85 to a 9.4 A++ was like a devastating downgrade because of Joan Bone's article on WATA.com that it basically says an 85 plus usually translates to like a 9.6 A+ or something. So a 9.4 A++ was a devastating downgrade. First of all, Johnny, it's a range of grades. That's the whole thing with VGA. They have one grade, WATA has two grades.
Human error, human bias. We're not machines. People get it wrong.
It's a one-of-a-kind item. Who fucking cares about the grade? It's really nice, and it's one of a kind. So, devastating financial loss. So he says, fuck, why are we getting into this fucking article? He says the highest selling game of all time, the highest selling sealed game was $30,000. I don't even know if that's true. I know what Mario he's talking about, and I don't know if that was like the highest sale ever. And then this one went for $100,000, which was basically a scam for WATA to repay Dan Maresca for the value that he lost by downgrading his grade to a 9.4 A++ from a VJ 85+. This is like actually shit in the article. So that's assuming that the $30,000 game and the $100,000 game are the same game. They are not. One is one of a kind. It's assuming that prices cannot go sharply upward, which I don't know if you've been alive for the past 2 years. They can. And it assumes that the $100,000 offer that Dan accepted for the Mario was the highest offer, and it was $70,000 more than it should have been, except the offer he accepted was not the highest offer. There was a $105,000 offer that was rejected for whatever Dan's personal reasons are. I'm not going to speculate and say, well, because he thought it was better for the hobby. Dan did not accept the highest offer on that $100,000 Mario, which this whole narrative he's constructed about Wada needing to pay him back for financial losses is completely blown out.
Yeah. So this is like one of the larger problems. Karl and this guy are not deep into game collecting. So they are people who are having extreme takes who don't have the nuance to have the conversation. Karl obviously took a kind of a broader stance and was better focused, but that guy Seth is just
throwing shit at the wall
also,
to see what happens.
If you guys don't know what the journalism pyramid is, it's basically, it's inverted to how you would think. Like in your first, because you think that back in the day when newspapers were a thing, you had columns and then like continuations on pages. So what you needed to do was post the most relevant information in the first paragraph. It's not like writing an essay. You need to get your point out. Like if you're going to make an allegation, you better like put your first proof right there. It's got to be item number one. You can't start meandering. Because readership, how much someone reads an article declines the longer the article is. So if you don't pack the most relevant, most important information in the front, no one will see it. It's like a YouTube video. That's why YouTube tracks length watched in videos rather than views, because they want to see how long you got people to pay attention. Because really, that first 30 seconds, to a minute is where most YouTube videos end. And that's why they figured out also the 9-minute mark is about what people tolerate, for one video. So after that, they advise you to break it up into parts, because that better feeds the algorithm. So it's crazy to me that journalism has gotten to the point where all these meandering points, you can just, make a 52-minute video and not hit your major point, like calling it a scam, telling me initially why it's a scam, right up, and then giving me a deeper summary, deeper facts after a summary. This guy, Seth, I don't know what he was. That was it was, yeah.
Seth is on drugs. I don't,
yeah, I was going to say, it's a
Seth.
word acid trip. I don't know what the hell happened there. But
the thing, if his actual point of the article, which he provides no proof or anything for, that Rich Lecce founded Wada and he's going around trying to sell the most hyped game for $1 million, that would be interesting. That's an interesting thing to know. I don't think we know if he provided anything, but instead he went into 100 pages of everything that he thinks is wrong with Wada and had nothing to do with the Rich Lecce stuff. I think Karl Jobst, I've watched every single one of his videos. Basically everyone I talked to had no idea who he was before this. Some people did, but I think he generally does good work. I think he's definitely going to follow this up with some stuff. I'm interested to see where he takes it. I think he really should, as if he's listening to this, he really needs to focus on what he wants his point to be. Because he could make a good video on the market manipulation happening in the market. He could make a good video on whether what the actors in this market is doing is ethical. And he could make a video on actual criminal fraud, but conflating them all into this one thing of everything that I don't like happening in this market. And it causes people to say, I knew it, everything was colluded, everything is fake, because they don't want to understand the nuance between those points.
Also, saying whether it's ethical is a value judgment, right?
Exactly. It is, but there's also ethicists out there who it's their job to determine
you could say but you have are we talking about personal ethics? Or are we talking about business ethics? They're separate things. They exist on a different axis.
I I don't understand any of it. I don't know anything about ethics, so I'm not a person to comment on it.
I would say, is it ethical to publish an article that you didn't double check all of your facts on and possibly defame people without saying the things like alleged?
So the funniest shit. This Seth, what is this? Seth Averson, something like that. So the very beginning of so the entire article, it talks about the $100,000 Mario a lot, obviously, and so it always refers to Dan Maresca as Bronte in quotes, and there's like a paragraph of like, there's this mysterious character Bronte, and we've looked into the CGC forums, and there's a Bronte there who said his name in one post was Dan. So we believe Bronte may be a Dan. And like, meanwhile, you go back to like the beginning of Nintendo Age, and Dan Maresca is writing articles for the Nintendo Age e-zines. He's one of the most important contributors to the site. Fucking everyone in the high-end market knows who Dan Maresca is, and he's writing
everyone
this
on
article.
Nintendo Age knew who he was.
Yeah, so he updated it, and he's like, it has been discovered that the identity of Bronte has been revealed, and he links to like Nintendo Age e-zine issue 2, which is a 14-year-old thing. It's like, it's been revealed, dude. You're the only guy who didn't know. What are you talking about?
This just in from 14 years ago. Like, thank you for that timely revelation.
I'm making fun of it. He might have valid criticisms in there. He probably does, because it's so long. There must be valid criticisms of actors in this market. But when same problem with Karl's video, when you have points in the video that are so easy to refute or easy to argue with, the people that do have valid criticisms against that are just going to focus on the stuff that is super dead easy to refute. So that's why you have to be concise, I think, and focus on your one point.
Yeah, I agree. So,
Johnny, God fucking, I'm going to have to edit this tomorrow. I didn't even want to talk about this long.
I didn't want to talk about it. I
minutes.
specifically said I didn't want to talk about it.
This is going to be irrelevant in a week because there's going to be some new exciting video that people are talking about. So I'm going to have to edit this tomorrow and push back our other episode that I edited tonight.
Dude, this is your fault. I
told
you I just wanted to talk about pop reports. I did not want to get into this because, one, I don't feel like anything, look, you guys have all made up your mind. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm just pointing out things that I think are problematic. You think I probably have a stance here. And let me tell you, I do. I think the video was a little bit sloppier than it needed to be, especially for 52 minutes. I don't respect anybody who says that I didn't have time to do the proper research when you had all the time, because there was no deadline for this video to come out.
Especially because nothing is breaking about this video. Right. It's all just research into the origins of the company.
Right. So I also don't like things that are potentially damaging to people. I don't like to try people in the court of public opinion. I do not like it. I don't like it for anybody. This is not just because I just think it's a bad practice and we shouldn't do it. Excuse me, but that might be my ethics kicking in, that I don't think that that's how we do things, but whatever. So I don't like that. And I don't like people who come up and say,
yeah,
what?
No, I just totally agree with the whole court of public opinion thing, is because regardless of what points were made in the video, there's definitely a mob of people who oversimplified those points and are turning Dennis into a villain. I've seen Dennis Con memes, which is the craziest fucking shit, that there are memes about him being like an evil video game overlord.
I know. Especially if you've ever met Dennis, he's not a villainous person by nature.
And what is he, 16 years old? Guys, we can't be trying this kid in the court of public opinion. That is a joke. I'm so sorry.
But I mean, also Dennis has been in this hobby forever. Since he was a little kid, he loves this shit. He has a true passion for it. So it's a little bit sad there, but I want to keep my personal feelings about Dennis kind of aside. I don't like the way that happened. Also he says, who's got time for that? You do. You have the time. You fucking have the time. You said it right in the forums. It's I don't have time to check every little fact. And I think my audience understands. Well, you didn't make this for your audience because it doesn't affect them if you're a speed running channel. Who gives a shit?
I guess for full disclosure, I would call myself an acquaintance of Dennis. Yeah. I think he's mad at me now, though, because Karl used me in a point to refute Wada's response. Wada's response was basically, you should have reached out to us. And I kind of did. I texted Dennis and tried to get him to email Karl. and he kind of didn't.
I mean, yeah, but also,
so I hope, Dennis, please don't be mad at me. I was just
Yeah.
trying to make the video as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I also didn't like the one-side takes. Like, could you have waited longer or said like given it a little more time, or does it strengthen your narrative to give them only a small amount of time and say they didn't respond?
Like, I don't think Karl is that kind of YouTuber. Just personally, based on my experience with his videos, I think it's his fault. Like, I think like Go Collect Jeff, like he seems like totally willing to engage on any piece.
Oh, and he did, and like dragging Dane out of the shed, and
right.
You know, we've got problems with the way Nintendo Age went down. We publicly state that we hate it. So,
like, I bet Jim Halpern wouldn't talk to you if you're gonna go bring up like some 40-year-old coin shit he did. But there are people that he could have talked to get more, and I think he's going to in the future. But he should have before, sicking the wolves on everyone that is mentioned in this video.
So I said, the problem with it too is because I think there are some good points and there are things for people to be aware of.
Yeah.
Right. So if that is true, don't do the other thing because that ruins it. All you've done is created divisive media. And it's like definitely been the recipe in politics for the last, I don't know, decade. And why I hate politics so much and why I don't ever want to talk about it on the show is because you just put this group against this group. And then you throw in a sprinkling of value judgments that one group won't agree with and another group will. And it'll create, they'll dig their heels in over it and they'll never see eye to eye and there'll never be a good conversation. And it'll just, nothing will get done. It will just be my side or your side. And I hate that. I hate that a lot. As someone who has a podcast, I like to have a conversation. I like to talk about it. So if you think like, oh, Johnny hated this video because he's friends with Dennis. No, that's not like the prime objective. Hear me again. I think there were definitely problems. There are definitely things that could have been done and should have been done better. And there's definitely you can see maybe some of these things are problematic and it would be nice if they were addressed, right? If they weren't really problems, someone should come out and say that and offer some proof. Because right now, you have a lot of people who are upset, and whether it matters or not. And a lot of the people who are upset don't buy sealed games.
That's the funniest shit.
Yeah.
Literally everyone, like people have just the worst takes on YouTube. Like everyone's like, I knew it. Everyone's going to jail. But they have nothing, no stakes in this market. I don't either. I would say I'm closer to having stakes because I got my 20
Zelda.
graded games, Johnny. But
your Zelda and your Mario. I'm just saying, got one of the most.
But I mean, I'm not selling
games
them,
ever.
So.
No, well, not yet.
Not yet. But when they hit $100,000, Johnny, ho. But the people are mad because the stuff they are buying has gone up in price. Which, shocker, every collectible over coronavirus times has gone up in price.
That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. The whole market is crazy. It's not just games. It's everything.
Dude, the stuff
look at Pokemon cards. Are people calling out Logan Paul for manipulating the market?
Johnny, there's market manipulation, yes, which is going to happen. There are fake sales. I was recently affected by one. I'll talk about it later on the show. There's regular people FOMO, and maybe there are actual true believers that are buying stuff as actual investments and not to just pump and dump. Maybe the guy who bought $144,000 Tomb Raider is not part of some grand investing cabal or anything. He just thinks that one day Tomb Raider is going to be worth $200,000. And there could be people like that. And the sum of all these factors is pushing up prices and everything on carts, on complete box, and definitely on the high end. But I was going to say, none of the actions of Dennis Kahn have affected your price of a Rule of Rose. But you know what? The founding of Wata Games has probably in some way pushed up the price of Rule of Rose. But
absolutely. Well, just the collectibles market, again, when more people perceive value in games, and yes, the floor is going to start rising, right? But as far as people manipulating the market, I've spoken many times on this from back when I first started collecting. We're talking 2004, getting the 2006, right, where I 100% caught people on Nintendo Age, big names, fucking up the market at the very top to raise the top. Because if you raise the top, the floor will rise, right? At least a little. The middle will come, the floor will come a little as people just perceive. I don't know. It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing, and it's not new to this hobby. It's not new to any other hobby. but it's also not a regulated market. So I hate it and it's scummy, but it's not illegal, which is a shame. And also, again, just back to auction houses. Is it a shame?
I don't know if it should be a shame. I need to be like an economist, ethicist, Johnny.
I mean, I just think in the end it erodes confidence. And then if things do bottom out, like the eventual erosion of confidence leads to bottoms falling out of things, because if no one believes it, then, you know, it's like right now people believe the hype, therefore the market goes up. If you make everyone think it's all fake, then the market will go down. So I think it can be problematic, right? Even though if it's having an immediate good effect. But, you know, the other thing, we talked about it on the auction episode, like auction houses are not your friend. Like back in the day when eBay was created, they touted themselves as like a fair auction house. Just to let you know, auction houses they are not an impartial source. They're not. Like, please get that out of your brain that somehow auction houses are just like, oh, they're just this, this group that doesn't care about sales.
They're not supposed to be. They're on the side of the seller, because the more the item sells for, the more fees they get.
Yes, they are a business. They are trying to make money. It's just...
That's why auctioneers talk in their weird auctioneer babble, and you probably get paid more for being a good auctioneer, because that increases the price. I have paid more because I got confused in an arcade auction.
Yes, I'm with you.
I have no idea. Are they saying the current price? Are they saying the next bid? I'm just gonna raise my hand. I really want that time crisis.
Yeah. That's like the last thing. Like, don't trust auction houses. They're not there to be your friends. They're there to make money. They're there for one thing. They're not like, oh, it's a shame that these people don't have a place to buy games. We could help out. No, that's not what it is. They're like, oh, that seems like an opportunity to make money. Let's do it.
All
right. Everyone adjust your monocles and shake hands.
All right. I'm sure there's plenty of people that will think that this was a bad take on the video, which is fine. I can say that basically every other take I've seen has been worse. So obviously I would say that about our own opinions, but oh my God, are there bad takes on this video?
Yeah. The truth is somewhere in the middle of all the takes. And that's unfortunate. Like that's what I hate about this. And like, people are just going to hear me.
There are points, but...
Yeah, that's like, I know a bunch of our Patreons were like super into like, yeah, F this, like, and I know they're just going to hear me and they're like, fuck Johnny. And that's fine. But guys, just know that I'm somewhere in the middle. Okay. I'm somewhere in the middle here. There's good and bad. I just didn't like exactly the way it was formatted, because I don't like events that create this kind of feeling, because I love the hobby and I don't want to see it torn apart. And it's like, I don't love a bunch of big investors in here shitting all over it either, but whatever. Here we are.
You love the hobby, you don't want to see it torn apart. It's really the same as it's always been. It's complete in box and cart people against the sealed guys. And God, in 2019, prices like almost made sense to me, where I'm like, wow, the sealed prices really aren't that much more than complete in box. And then like by the end of the year, it was like 100 times, like 400 times, like ridiculous prices again. I'm like, wow, sealed prices still don't make any fucking sense to me.
It's crazy. But what this episode was supposed to be, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit here, and we don't have to have a bunch of takes.
Oh, we're getting to the episode.
Yeah, the episode now.
Oh, I'm so happy to talk about our main topic, Johnny. What is it?
Thank God that I'm glad this tangent was only 60
Let's get
minutes.
off this WADA bullshit, Johnny, and get to the episode. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Let's be done with that, except for one of the big conclusions that came out of it is that people want pop reports. They think that that's like a stance I've seen from a lot of people who aren't like really invested in this, have no graded games, don't know exactly how pop reports work or anything, but they think that's because that was what they were told solves the problem. And I don't know if that is true. I've got some takes on pop reports and why I think like maybe it's a little weird. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have them. Let it be said. It would be nice to have pop reports right now. I'm going to say that, but also let's talk about why maybe we don't. Like why WADA wouldn't, especially now that VGA is releasing them. Also, like, please understand, you guys are all like pretty pitchforks and torches about no pop reports from WADA, but like no one said VGA one single time during any of that. They've never had a pop report and people were fine doing their thing
reports. I think
VGA did not have a pop
up
report
to
for
2016,
games.
they took down their pop reports. I don't.
Did
know
they?
why. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And now they're putting them back up.
Okay.
Big shrug from me. I have no idea what goes on at VGA.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone knows, and that's honestly what people say. Part of the appeal is that we don't know. They just seem like some impartial party, and that's what they want. And cool. But anyways, let's talk about what is valuable on pop reports if they're going to help and how they're help or why there might be problems. Can we do that?
Sure, Johnny. Where do you want to start? Because people complain about a lot of different aspects here.
Yeah, well, here, tell me, first off, do you think pop reports would be helpful? And
Johnny,
if so, why?
we have a problem with getting into concepts without explaining them. Johnny, what is a pop report?
A population report. A population report, an entity, say like CGC or WADA, will that tell you the number of times a game has been graded. So your Super Mario 3, there's like 1,000 of them graded or whatever. And then it will, in most pop reports, they delineate even further and tell you the amount of at each grade. So you'll get a total, like, there's a total of 750 graded, and there are 200 are 8.5s and 500 are 9.6s, because that just seems like the most common grade because people took care of their Mario 3 and it was very popular. And then there's this subfraction of 9.8s. There's like 40 and there's 110, and then there's a couple really bad copies. It just gives you the number at each grade that makes the total.
And there's a more important factor. It would tell you at each variant as well. So you can see what the rarest variants are, although big asterisk on that.
Right. And also, games are not comics. So the level of variance, like comics usually just get like a few different covers. So it's like a lot easier to cover. Video games, the minutia we get into on what we consider variance is pretty extreme. So that's going to be a challenge for pop approach. But now that we've described what they are, tell me your take on them. Good, bad, indifferent.
So people are mad because they say they don't have confidence when buying games, how rare something is. I mean, it is a tool for investors. I don't know how useful it is as a collector, specifically as a longtime collector and not a sealed collector, because this would help you if you don't have enough experience to know what's rare yet. It's a cheat sheet for what is rare. Except, back to that big asterisk, one, WADA has not graded enough games to, this is their excuse. I'm not saying it's accurate, but to provide a real accurate idea of what's rare and what's not. But also, in terms of like the sealed stuff, you're going to see the better stuff graded more. And also in terms of sealed stuff, sealed games are more common for later releases, just because that's what's left over more. So if you're trying to take the population report data and apply it to something useful for yourself, like complete and box collecting, if you want to like look at the Zelda variants to get an idea of how rare a first print Zelda is compared to, oval seal Zeldas, it's going to tell you nothing, because I think there's like 2 or 3 first prints that have been graded, and there's probably a shitload of oval seals that have been graded. But first prints are not like the rarest thing ever. They've been scooped up a lot, but they will seem rarer than they are. I think that's a problem.
Well, yeah. So statistical significance is not going to be had, is what you're saying on most games, especially when you take variation into account.
Sure. Yes.
So I also think. So I think pop reports are really good for sellers and not so good for buyers. Everyone, I think that people have this like magical idea. Well, if I know the pop report of a game, then they can't like overprice it because I'll know there's a bunch of them. But Hulk 181 tells me that that's not true. And if you don't know what Hulk 181 is, it's like one of the most popular comic books of all time. And it's very expensive for a comic book, right? Or
it's
maybe
like
not
that's
very
top
expensive.
3 most graded book, and like easily average copies are over $10,000, and like the highest high-end copies are into the 20-ish grands.
Right. Because
not even the highest highs, like 9.4s I think are 20 grand now.
So this is basically comic Super Mario 3. And it's like, are you Did you need a population report to tell you that Super Mario 3 is a popular game and popular games are probably going to be graded more often? I don't like that's where it kind of
exactly it. So when the pop report comes out, people think like there's going to be like this great thing. Oh my God, there's so many Mario 3s. And there will. It's probably by far the game they've graded the most. But people are just going to see that and be like, oh yeah, because Mario 3 is popular. That's great. Great. So many Mario 3s. Like, what? It's not going to affect the price. People aren't going to be like, wow, there's so many Mario 3s. I should dump all my sealed Mario 3s right now. When this company and this market is so small, like, how many do you think is going to be so many over the course of 2 years?
Right.
Like this, how long has like the Wada Games Facebook group even had more than 1,000 people in it? Like a year, maybe?
Yeah. So here's some other stuff. Right now, like, you're going to know that there's going to be more Marios, more Zeldas, Final Fantasies, any popular series, even Tomb Raider. Like, obviously, these ones are going to be there. So you're not going to find a lot of, like, I don't know, Zool for the Super Nintendo. So
you might find zero Zool. Well, actually, I think that's kind of common sealed, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind
of
not
Zool. I'm thinking of Zoop, but
yeah, sure. Maybe that's. But anyways, the point is, there's going to be a game, call it Wizard of Oz or The Adventures of Mighty Max. Anyways, just pick some fucking game that no one cares about on the Super Nintendo or any system for that matter and go, oh man, they really haven't graded any of these. So what people are going to start doing is seeing this pop report and be like, here's a hole. And then they're like, if you haven't looked into comics, how people market their comics that like aren't, that people don't care about, they're just like the only one at this grade or the only one graded. So people are going to start trading on that. It's going to start, video games used to be about kind of collecting known but also rare games. Like, these are the known games. You just go buy them. You'll get your Marios and Zeldas because there's plenty. But like, go collect some of these rare stuff, like, or kind of rare. Like, imagine Little Samson. They're there if you want to get them, but they're also like pretty expensive. Like, that's just going to start happening with pop reports. People are going to start to see holes and be like, oh yeah, you've never done this. So as a seller, you're going to be able to strategically target areas in the pop report and try to make money off of those gaps. So I think it's a better opportunity for sellers than it is for buyers. Like, is it nice to have that information? I love information. Please give me all the data I can get. Please, I love data. Give it all to me. So don't hear this as like Johnny doesn't want pop reports. I just think that people are going to look at this and be like, or if Wada releases their pop report now, like, yeah, you think Wada grades a lot of games, but there really hasn't been that many games graded yet. So, and like, there's not going to be a large variety of games graded. So this is going to be, this is kind of tricky, word wise for me to get right. So imagine that out of all the instances of grading, that like 10% of the amount of games there are. So like Zelda, Mario, Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, any other popular title, Sonic, they are going to make up most of the instances of grading. Not of graded games, but the instances of grading. So they're going to create this giant spike, and then everything else is not going to have very many data points. So 80% of the grades or 90% of the grades are going to be from just a very few amount of games. And the rest is going to be this long trailing tail of no information or very little information. And that's going to, you're just going to look at it and go, okay. And that's why I think it's a place for sellers to exploit. I'm not saying that they necessarily need to wait, but that's a concept that people need to understand. Just so you don't, like, if they publish a pop report, so you don't like get into this weird thing. Also, people already fetishize over the numbers of this, and that drives me crazy because people stop caring about the games and they start caring about the number. They're like, oh yeah, the game's like kind of important, but really I want a 9.8. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and then they start, like, you will see more of that kind of behavior as people start to obsess, like, where they see a hole. And also with games like where people are like, well, we need a pop report so we can see how many got that grade because they already want to obsess about the number. Like, if you can just imagine for a second that anything that's got a 10 is already pretty rare, doesn't matter what the title is, and 9.8s are harder to get. So there's probably going to be less of those, it might be
Wow,
more
what
common.
a concept.
I know. Like you might see like the most common grade is like an 8.5 or something, or an 8.6, however, on the Waddle scale. You're like, wow, that's crazy. That's the most common. It's like, yeah, well, because these games are old and like they're subject to this. Some game, like you will start to see, the one thing that'll be nice is you will start to see on like, let's say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Super Nintendo, just favorite system, and I'm staring at the wall. You're going to be like, oh man, there's a bunch of these that get like 7s. And that's just because of the cart or something, of CIBs that are graded, obviously, not sealed, but you're going to be like, oh man, it commonly comes back as a 7, but you're going to know, oh, it's like most of these are Mexico copies and that's
Johnny,
like really
there's
affects
not going to be any data on graded CIBs. I know people do it, but it's like $170. No one's grading this garbage.
I know, and not yet. I want you to get into that point too, but that's what I'm saying. There will be one day, right? And that will be nice. I don't want to just sit here and say, oh, the pop data is bad. There will be things we'll be able to tease out of the data that will be amazing. But I'm worried like that all the people saying like, this is the thing they need to do to fix everything right now. I don't know how much it fixes. Like, I think all the people who that complain about it the most are the people like in the WADA forums who want more graded games because they're selling and they make money off it. Like they are thirsty for this, because they know they get to exploit the pop reports to make more money. And I don't think the other half of collectors have like really grasped that.
The best part is whenever we get the pop report, there's like going to be a 9-month lag. Like they're going to get so many submissions and there's going to be like a 9-month lag in between getting your shit back. So whoever has the already graded games, there are probably some fucking like Xbox One games. I don't even know if they grade Xbox One. There's probably Xbox 360 games, like something obscure. I don't know. Ikai Katana, that shooter. Like, I don't know. Do people grade that kind of stuff? If someone has the one copy they've graded, it will be like half a year before other people start getting copies back. So they can put it on eBay for like $1,500 and be like, pop one, I've got the only sealed copy of Ikai Katana.
That's what I'm saying. And like, that's what you're going to see in these pop reports.
I do think so. There is something like obviously it's 9.8 A++. It should be worth a lot of money. It's very rare. People want them for the relative rarity, at least for the common games that come up all the time. So a great example would be Atari stuff. So Spider-Man, there's probably like 9.8 A++ is probably the grade I see the most on that game. It is very easy to pull a case fresh 9.8 A++. Maybe not easy, but it's very possible to do that. Compared to like E.T., again, a game there are tons of case packs that have been pulled and graded, but you see more of them in like the mid-9s. So maybe when it comes to the 9.8 A++, it's going to be an NS. So when it comes to the 9.8 E.T., people want to pay a ratio based on how many 9.6s, 9.4s, 9.2s there are. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm not arguing against like we shouldn't release the pop reports, but that is going to be a useful thing for that market.
Yeah. The other thing, like since you brought up Spider-Man, people often bring this up as the case for why pop reports are needed, because that one Spider-Man sold for 9,000 and then all of them, or was it more than that? Was it like, I thought it was like 9,800 or something. Or was it more than that?
9,600. Let's go.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, sold for something of the $9,000 range. And then all the other prices tanked. And they're like, we need pop reports. I'm like, but if you had a pop report, wouldn't it tell you that? Like, because that would be the first graded Spider-Man. So someone would go crazy to buy the first graded one. And then all the subsequent ones that came out would sell for less. That tracks to me. Am I missing something? Wouldn't a pop report do that? Wouldn't I come to the same reasoning?
I guess if there's people who like really aren't paying attention, but even like the total novices in the market, like I saw people buying Spider-Mans and they were like, I know there's a million of them, but I need to get a Spider-Man. Because I mean, besides the fact that right now at this moment, there are going to be dozens or hundreds of copies of this game in the market. Maybe that won't be the case 20 years from now if video games really get, to the level of popularity as other things. And Spider-Man it's an important game. Is it the first superhero game? That might be Superman. It's the first Marvel Comics and the first Spider-Man game though.
Yeah. And it's Spider-Man. The crossover appeal is gigantic.
Yeah. Get those licenses.
People are going crazy. There's a new Spider-Man trailer just dropped. So go check it out if you haven't.
We're going to react to it right now live?
No, we're not. We are not that station, or channel, whatever. Okay. I want you to go into the cost thing too. Please talk about the cost of grading.
The cost of grading. I don't know. It costs like what, $80 to grade a sealed.
No, about you. We said in the pre-show, you were talking about the cost of grading a comic versus grading a game and how that creates a difference in the pop reports and everything. The volume.
Oh, well, I mean, people in general will grade sealed video games, which is a strange kind of weird sample because there's going to be more late prints and stuff like that. So there's going to be, it's a sample of how many sealed copies are in the world, which does not correspond to how many copies are in the world, as opposed to comics where people send in fucking anything. Like people send in, low grade Hulk 181s. They just want to get any Hulk 181 graded. Because in the past, it was not very expensive to grade a comic book. I'm pretty sure grading anything is astronomically expensive right now.
$25 still.
Really? Like, that honestly doesn't even seem that bad. I mean, I've only known grading video games, which has always been like minimum like $30. So,
but yeah, that's the other thing, right? Like in a pop report, comics, because they don't come sealed by nature, they're just a loose entity. They're a lot more graded and it's a lot cheaper and the turnaround's a lot faster to generate bigger pop reports. Also, the cost of grading a game is not for the faint of heart, and this is usually why it's only sealed games. It's like, what is the cheapest to grade a game right now? Isn't it $170 compared to $25?
What, compared to 25? Oh, no, it's $170 is like the complete in box price. Maybe they've opened up cheaper tiers, but it would still be over $100. And even within like the graded game community, there are people who think grading complete in box is dumb. Like how, quote unquote, the masses think that grading in general is dumb. There are sealed collectors who are like, why would you grade a complete in box? That makes no sense. For a number of reasons. Like a lot of times these parts are pieced together and, we're not like 1,000,000% on variance. So if you're piecing together the nicest components from a bunch of games, if it's not something that we know doesn't belong, you're probably piecing something together that doesn't belong. And then there's like, you can piece together a game that is technically incomplete and still grade it because, WATA is basically cart insert box and then everything else is a bonus item.
Yeah. Well, and people say that's crazy, but I just want to tell, like, for people who don't know, in comic grading, there is grading that happens. Like they'll grade an incomplete comic. Like if it came with a card or something in it and that card isn't there or like a digital code, they'll still grade it. And that like, they'll let you know because the story and the actual comic itself is still intact. And that thing is not relevant to the story. Therefore they will still give it a grade. So that happens in comics.
Johnny,
like a lot of times, what?
I was going to say, are you aware that there's a company that grades individual comic pages?
Yeah, CGC will do that.
CGC. I thought there was a specialist company. Maybe it was CGC.
Yeah, well, they'll give it the PG stamp.
Okay.
Or they'll just do a cover and give it a CV grade.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it's like I've looked into all of this stuff.
Weird.
Like I did some research, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right.
You know what, Johnny? Maybe we decided to run into this episode at 2 a.m. Johnny, why do you think, why is WATA not releasing the reports? They're manipulating the market. Everyone in WATA is buying up all the good games while they have all the data.
Well, I just don't think, I don't think they have enough information. And I think maybe
their excuse, Johnny. Okay.
Yeah, well, look, that can be true, right? Like, we don't always have to assume that aside from what every video on the internet will tell you, they may not be dishonest in this, right? They may understand that if they release the pop report, that it will have a negative effect on more people grading games because they'll be like, oh man, people are just taking advantage of this. Imagine that WATA isn't just the servants of Heritage or these collectors, and that they are a business unto themselves and want to be in the business of staying in business for a longer period of time. Imagine that they want to keep doing that.
I have a few reasons that I've thought of, Johnny.
Okay. Tell me your reasonings. I mean, I'm just going to give you a basic answer that just seems like one reason. What are some more?
Variants are a fucking mess at WATA, which we may or may not know from a certain API data leak that they had. But so they learn information over time and they add it to the variants that they list on the label. So early copies of games might just say like ESRBE, and let's just suppose it says nothing else. And then they might learn, oh, there's a made in Japan and made in USA variant. And then that might start getting listed on the label. And then they might learn, oh, there's this Dolby Digital logo on the back, and some of them don't have that. And then that might get listed on the label. So there's kind of like 3 pop reports that need to get merged into one or presented in a useful way, because all these games have been graded in all these different variants that may be actually the same thing. And as someone who tries to keep track of my own personal video game database, which is, I don't know, what, 20, 30,000 games, something like that, like, they have to put together a pop report that makes sense for all those games, and maybe there is a lot of work that needs to go into manipulating the data. I don't even think that's the most important reason. One thing they might be doing is trying to hide the size or scale of their company for some competitive reason, because they are so new. I don't know if this would. I feel like they have no reason to release this information right now, as CGC is getting ramped up to compete with them, and VGA's, doing whatever VGA does. It could be something to do with that, because, like, literally, WATA is a few guys in a room. I don't think it's this amazing, huge operation where they already have, tens of thousands of everything graded. So that could be a reason. But Johnny, I've got the number one reason that they absolutely are not going to release a pop report anytime soon.
Is it because they don't have to, and we're not actually entitled to pop reports? It's just something we would like.
Well, see, that argument would stop holding water as soon as CGC gets ramped up and starts giving pop reports, or if people actually switch over to VGA. I don't think that's likely, just because WATA carries all the value. But the number one reason, Johnny, when they release the pop report, it's going to be a fucking feeding frenzy. No matter what, people are going to be looking for those pop zeros, pop ones people are going to be submitting Xbox 360 game seal. Like, oh my God, Just Dance 2014. None are graded. I can get a pop one right now. And WATA can't keep up with their
That's what I said. That's like, that was my big argument for like why it was problematic to begin with, because it would cause this effect.
Yeah. And WATA's
it's behind. Be a nightmare.
They can't meet their current goals. The best thing for them to do is either release it when it provides them a competitive advantage in the marketplace to do so. Like, I don't know if VGA releasing pop reports is a threat in that sense. Or when submissions slow down to the point where they can keep up with them again, releasing the pop report will be like setting off an atomic bomb of submissions. So This is not the time that they're going to do that. It just makes sense. Like, the world is going to be back to normal. We're going to be walking around outside without masks outside of Mississippi by the time we get pop reports.
Probably. I mean, that's like probably the reason that if you're just like an average person who isn't like so invested in the sealed market, and you want to take away just like, but you know about WATA, just like look at what kind of madness that would cause. Look at what it already is. I mean, it's just going to be so bad.
We're going to put out a same day episode whenever that pop report drops, and just going through all the interesting shit we can find. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. So I don't know. I like right now. Here's my final take. Right now, pop reports aren't going to be helpful to WATA. They're not going to be helpful to just the average collector. I think they're just going to help sellers sell better. And that's not great for any of us, especially because
I think it would help buyers buy better within conditions. I think you and me probably think like 9.2, 9.4, whatever. But there are some people who are like, I need to know the exact ratio so I can bid the correct price between a 9.2 and a 9.4.
Yeah, but I mean,
some people
I
are just 100% numbers in these.
Yeah, I mean, but you can just make a basic assumption that you should pay more for a 9.4 than you should for a 9.2, and more for a 9.6.
9.4 Spider-Man is garbage. I mean,
there's plenty of like base averages you can look at through other hobbies where you can see the average difference between the price of games, where you can start to make the assumption. Also, if it's a popular title, you can start to assume what the population of that game's existence is. Like, that's the other thing. Nintendo, or it's mostly Nintendo games, but video games, sealed video games specifically, aren't ever going to be at the pops that comic books are. That's just not going to happen. There's so many Hulk 181s, and there's just not that many sealed Super Marios.
Johnny, cannot wait. But like literally 5 minutes after the pop report drops, people are going to be like, oh my God, there's no video games. Buy all the video games. Everything's going to disappear off eBay. Everything.
Yeah.
Graded games that are 5 times as much as they should be. There's going to be a mass panic because people are going to be like, oh my God, there's 20,000 Hulk 181s and 150 Super Mario Brothers that have been graded, or what? I don't know. I have no idea what amount there would be, but the number is going to be so much lower just because there aren't decades of submissions, and because we're only looking at essentially the top tier condition thing as opposed to the entire population of things.
Yeah. Well, there's not going to be decades of submission, and there's just not going to be that many in existence as well. And this is like, people keep saying like, Johnny, why don't you want them just to release a pop report? Oh, it's because you're some water shill. And I always tell people, I'm like, I don't, and I've said in other episodes, I don't think you know what you're asking for exactly. I am 100% on the side of collectors who are like me. Like, I don't want us to get devastated by this thing, which is what's going to happen. Like it's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad, but everyone thinks it's the solution. And I'm over here just being like, I on crazy pills?
Different kind of collector thinks it's the solution. The kind that is actually like bidding on already graded games.
Well, but no, now that this video came out, right, tying it back to the video, that was the conclusion that they made. Like, oh, well, if we had pop reports, they couldn't manipulate us. And I'm just like, oh my God, is this like, is it an inside job from the people in the water group to get this video out, to get a pop report so they can just like feast on us? Please don't. It's just like the worst. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so damn bad. And I don't want it to happen.
Guys, if there are like, I don't even know, common sealed games, if there's like anything you want, get it before the pop report drops. It doesn't matter. It could be like 10 times higher than anyone thinks it is. People are going to interpret it as, oh my God, there are no sealed video games. And I'm not saying like people who are like, constantly participating in the market, paying attention to what's really out there. All those outside people from different hobbies who are just like looking in like, hey, what's going on in video games? They're going to see the pop report and say, oh my God, there are no video games. Buy all the video games. So get ready. In however long it takes for this to hapen. I don't think this is happening anytime soon.
I mean, I think like, I don't have any more opinions on that. Are we done talking about
We're done.
All right, let's talk a couple wrap up items. I think a lot of people think that this is going to like if we keep forcing this narrative that WATA is evil and horrible, then maybe people will just stop buying video games. Guys, that's not the thing that's going to happen. You might stop the people who are into sealed games, but you're not like the average collectors. You're not crushing them like by being really negative right now. That's not what's going to happen. I think that's like a crazy stance to take. Like, oh, this will get it back to 2004 numbers. That we're just not going
like literally we're never going back to 2012 numbers, let alone before that.
Yeah, we're not going back to 2018 numbers.
Yeah,
okay,
it's just not happening.
Like the price memory is never going to fall that. Like they're like, oh, but they in the video they use the coin bubble thing. Like, look at this thing. This is not exactly that. So, because there were already a bunch of people deeply invested at different levels, and this is only like really the sealed, but I don't see it taking like a drop that doesn't recover for 30 years. And maybe I'm 100% wrong, and you guys are right, and you could force that crash, but that would require all of the people who are already in this to start suggesting that they've been duped and bailing out of their investments, like
people,
a ship taking on water.
So I was watching the Get the Greg Games stream of the first Heritage auction, whatever, the weekly auction, after the Karl Jobst video, and people like watching prices to see if like his video had an effect on the market. Like no one is going to change their behavior based on anything in a video like that because they're all making money. They're all benefiting from the market manipulation if they're not participating in it. So I don't think things are going to change. You can't argue your way to lower prices. If prices do decrease, guys, first of all, I mean, there's going to be a correction at some point, obviously. But like for the whole market to drop out, I think what you need is the next generation of people, and I think this is very possible, does not care about physical media, and they're like investing into virtual avatars and digital collectibles. And they just see like a disc and they're like, what is this? An 8-track? I think that's the only way that like the complete bottom will fall out of the video game market is if kids don't care about it.
Aging out of the hobby.
Yeah. If it's like the next Western collectibles, I think then maybe we have a chance at all being able to get the games of our dreams because they're all worthless now. They're just Pez dispensers.
I mean, and that's part of what I tell people. Like, I still don't collect in any fashion that isn't this. If you heard me on Dan's podcast, the video game collecting podcast.
Oh, that
I
Dan.
say, yeah, that Dan. So many Dans. Why are there so many Dans? It's insane to keep track.
It's Dan 64, right? But I don't.
Yeah,
damn it, Dan!
yeah.
I don't know your last name.
Yeah, it's Dan 64. But yeah, so Dan. Like, also, like, why does everything need to be called the video game collecting something? And it's all done like, and there's just Dans involved in all of them. Just stop it.
I think
stop
it's a conspiracy for marketplace confusion, Johnny. We should make a video on it.
Yeah. Let's expose the scam of Dans. Anyways, the point I was trying to make is when you buy a game, when I buy a game, this is my philosophy, that I've lit that money on fire. I don't expect a return on that. I don't expect anything out of it except a tiny shelf emblem that I now have. And I know you collect in much the same way because your games are never, ever leaving until you're dead. So yeah, it's just not an investment for me. And it makes my heart better. And I feel less stress about the hobby when I know that whatever the price I paid on the game, if I felt it was worth it at the time, I'm okay. Because sure. It's not an investment piece. It's not my 401k. It's not a stock. It's just my hobby.
I know people don't like reserved investments. He was really angry in his last Q&A, but a point that he did make in his last Q&A is because he's trying to get people to invest wisely, i.e. in like actual investments. He doesn't want his listeners to become old men surrounded by piles of things they think are valuable rather than have lived an actually valuable life.
It's a fair point.
I am well on my way to becoming an old man surrounded by piles of valuable collectibles, but it is something hobby, I took and I'm like, that is kind of the trajectory of my life, isn't it?
But that's the thing. Like, but if you just bought them because you thought they were an investment, that would be one thing other than you just buying them because you love games and you think, and you like the hobby.
So yeah,
that's the big difference. Anyways, I hope that's the takeaway, guys. Anyways, I don't know how much we added to this conversation, really. I hope our middle take...
And we're like a week late from the real fire on this, Johnny.
Not
Everyone
really,
is tuned
because,
out.
Like,
no one's listening anymore.
Like, we have the Dane response in there. You know, we have some more stuff that other people haven't been exposed to. Like, we have a take after some of the takes with new info, so I think it's fine.
You know, speaking of Dane's response, well, so there was an original Dane response which happened, I believe, in the Video Game Sage Discord, and then he was talking on Video Game Sage. It is crazy that there is hot news in like the market, and like Video Game Sage is at the center of it because the Heritage Auction thread on Video Game Sage is where all these old Nintendo age people came back to talk about this, and there's a lot of circle jerking and shit in there, but it's crazy. Like, it feels like Video Game Sage now is the new Nintendo age. Like, I feel like we did it. That's
like
really
fine.
Cool.
It took this to do it. It's crazy. Everyone was in there. Even I showed up. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I just want to say that I'm here. Just so I can be like documented in this thread. But I mean, I wish that we talk about one of the talk, some of the hot talk in there was how people thought Nintendo age mods were a little ban happy. I wish Video Game Sage mods would have tried to control that discourse a little harder, because there's a lot of super valuable information in there surrounded by like 10,000 dick jokes, which is basically this podcast. And we don't need more of
that. If you haven't yet, I encourage you to sign up to the Video Game Sage. And yes, you will definitely, if you're like a graded collector, who I assume is anyone still listening to this fucking podcast at this point, you will definitely find the exact kind of not in my hobby, gatekeepy, original OG collectors that you are expecting to see. But there are a few like investor speculator types who have powered through those people and remain active members of Video Game Sage, which I'm surprised, because when I think of the various communities of like where you could hang out to talk about video games, like Nintendo Age, I was talking to an old Nintendo Age member. I won't reveal him, but he basically said that Nintendo Age was the clubhouse where like these elitists hang out and kind of gatekeep what they like away from other people. And there are definitely people in Nintendo Age who wouldn't say that's the case, but literally watch how people on Video Game Age treat anyone who is talking about created games. And yes, I'm saying we as Video Game Sagers, even though I try not to be this, very much gatekeepy of the proper way to collect.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a terrible ad for Video Game Sage calling us a bunch of gatekeepers, but I want to say that I recognize it and I don't agree with that behavior.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like me. I'm coming in here saying like, you know, I try to be respectful to people who like are trying to be investors and think investing is valuable. But like, you know, I'm more of an old timey, like not in my hobby kind of guy when it comes down to it. I try not to get that way, but like that's how I started. I found a lot of the Nintendo Age bullshit when I first joined, and this is like 2006 or whatever, to be some nonsense. Get treated poorly, you get talked down to a little bit, but there was also an F ton of knowledge in there. And Video Game Sage is, I think the overall behavior is better. People are a little nicer, and there's still a bunch of good resources in there. A lot of people with a lot of knowledge. So I wouldn't say don't go to Video Game Sage. You should go there and you should check it out.
Write a guide. We've told you in previous episodes to write a guide. Best place is to go to that Video Game Sage guides forum, collecting guides, and write your guide.
Yeah, lots of good stuff in there. So please check it out. Not and there's a lot of people who are old timers who came over who are just like wonderful and reasonable and not, you know, even if they're sometimes a little get off my lawn, like myself, you know, still pretty reasonable. So, and welcoming. So go there and learn and converse with people. All right, there's our plug for Video Game Sage.
Are we moving on, Johnny?
Well, I just feel like since we're mentioning Video Game Sage, now is a perfect time to tell you, when you need an import game, there's only one place to shop, and that's Cheap Cheap Games. Contact Red the Game Shark and get your games for cheap.
Excellent plug.
Thanks.
Has Red got me anything? I mean, he's got me like some real good stuff that I'm not even talking about yet because I need to get more games from the series. Like, there are definitely games that I buy and I don't mention, or sometimes I only mention them on After Dark, just because it is so easy to implant an idea in someone's head. Every time I see a want to buy ad, like 1 out of 100 times, I just see a want to buy ad and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have that. And then I just go to eBay and I look at what's available. You should not be posting a want to buy unless you are like desperate and willing to pay anything to get it, I think. It is so easy to have someone add something to the save search. And I'm out there doing it, guys. You're posting want to buy ads, that shit's going in my eBay save searches.
Stop that.
Just telling you. I don't do it till like my friend, like I don't bid on the stuff that my friends are looking at and trying to bid on. But if you're just some rando on the internet, if you're on Reddit, if you're on these Facebook groups that I'm not like one of the ones I'm involved in, man, I will just take the shit you want and it becomes the shit I want.
He will fuck you.
100%. And it's 2021, Johnny. I'll pay anything to fuck you. That shit comes up.
Wow.
Paying $150 for, I don't care what it is, some PS2 game. Some guy wanted it. It must be valuable. It's like the whole like social thing. Like, well, I already have this proof that someone else wants it, so it must be valuable because they want it, so I should want it. Anyway, should we move on to collecting questions, Johnny?
We sure should.
Retro Game Enthusiast, these are from the Collector's Quest Discord, which you can access by becoming a patron on patreon.com/collectorsquest. I don't remember if we mentioned that already, but I'll give us a double plug even if we did.
We haven't.
Retro Game Enthusiast asks, should we start contributing funds/games to video game archivists like Dan Gomez? That is such an interesting question. Wow.
I think yes. Yeah. Like why like there's people support worse things. You know, just that's like, you know, if you can help Dan out, who is a treasure and providing this community a bunch of valuable information, then yeah, definitely like help out. And if that's with funds or with resources, even just research. Yeah, absolutely. Like, we should encourage people to know more and do more. So, and Dan is doing, and, so much.
Dan.
Like, yeah. Another Dan, huh? Anyways, he's a trooper out there, and you should check out, what is it? Modern Game Database is his primary Instagram profile. Modern Database on Instagram, and is it _ database on YouTube? His YouTube channel.
So yeah, he just started a YouTube channel. It's called Modern Database, but literally you look for Modern Database. Dan, your SEO, you're getting some problems because there's a lot of people talking about SQL databases.
Yeah. Like, maybe that's why. See, I think game should be in there. Dan, change it. Fix it. No,
I'm going to figure it out.
You do what you want.
We're just going to edit it in what it is. It's just called Modern Database. Dude, Dan, you need some SEO help. You could probably find him on Instagram, and he's got a link in his bio, I would bet.
Yeah.
So he has just started the series, like literally 2 days ago, where he does 1 minute variant videos, the one that exists, where it's just him pointing out all the differences between a first print and a second print of some Xbox game.
Silent Hill. Silent Hill, was it Downpour? I don't know. It doesn't matter which one it was. He points out the difference between the sound.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that...
Yeah, Homecoming.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyways, you should go check that out. And if you can help Dan, or if he starts asking for help or puts out a Patreon or something, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I will say, in the grand scheme of things, it's more valuable to donate to places like Video Game History Foundation that are doing like actual work preserving video game history, not finding the shit for collectors. Usually the people that end up finding shit for collectors will end up putting out commercial products, like a guidebook that they update yearly or something like that. In Dan's case,
but that's okay. But no, is that wrong?
No,
like,
it's not wrong. I'm saying, like,
my take is always like, it's fine to make money, and especially if you're doing the work.
So I'm saying I would
be buying his guide.
I wouldn't donate to the Scott's Stamp catalog. I would buy the Scott's Stamp catalog. But if what Modern Database ends up being, because I don't know where he's intending to fully take Modern Database, but if it ends up being just a YouTube channel where he's putting out a bunch of free information, which, I mean, yeah, we know Dan puts out a shitload of free information all over the fucking place, then yes, if he ends up with a Patreon or something, yes, I definitely think it is worth donating to archivists if they're giving us a bunch of free information in return.
Yeah, and very specifically to Dan, yeah, like double stamp of approval of that, because he already has a track. Like, just because the YouTube channel is new doesn't mean his track record is new. It's existing and long. So he's already done a lot for a lot of people.
And he's by far one of the loudest voices of people saying, fuck, no one's documenting this modern stuff. Everyone only cares about Nintendo. What's going on? So yeah. I'm very happy we have a zealous activist in Dan.
Yep. Agree. Any other questions, or are we just doing one today?
Question number 2, also by Retro Game Enthusiast. What are the chances we could get a sister podcast to Collector's Quest? Guys, with the work and the length that these shows are going, 0, where it's just your lady friends talking about being in a relationship with collectors. Oh boy, I would also say there's a 0% chance, because Ada puts up with so fucking much in this house. And I wouldn't want that revealed to the internet. We already know when Lenny in The Simpsons was in like this decrepit apartment, and he says, "Please don't let people know how I live." That's basically how I feel in my house.
I've been to your house; not that bad.
I probably did a quickie cleanup for you, but yeah.
You were getting married, so I'm sure you was generally cleaner because you had people in and out of your house.
Sure, but yeah, I've got Man,
Tyler, I think the other thing is you aren't going to other collectors' houses and seeing them, and no one's going most places right now, or at least for the last year. But I was saying, in general, like if you were going to more collectors' houses, it might seem more normal when you see like piles of games on the stairs.
It's true. I don't go to anyone's house to look at their collection, mostly because everyone I fucking know, I guess, is in California. What the hell's going on there? And some guys in New York. Who's over in the old North Carolina? I don't know. I think RH on Video Game Stage, you're in the North Carolina. Also, I'm lazy and antisocial. But Johnny, is there going to be a podcast where perhaps
No.
Carly tells us tell all?
Are you kidding? Our schedules are so screwed right now. She works night shift. We have a 2-year-old. I'm doing this while he sleeps and could have to leave at any minute. It's like, oh man, I'm carving out time when I can. To like have to find more time for anything else right now is impossible. You know, I've sacrificed so much sleep just to do anything I enjoy. It's dumb. No. Also, who would like maybe a one-off episode where we could bring them on just to say things, but a sister podcast? God, also, my wife would hate that so much. She does not want to be involved in that nonsense.
He also says Lady Hardstyle would be an awesome guest to tell us about the continuing adventures of Lord Hardstyle Z, who last I saw his one post of his collection was just stacked without a shelf, I believe, or there was some makeshift system.
It was embarrassing. The guy needed a shelf.
But we can go through the what it's like getting a shelf and filling up that shelf and putting a shelf in the kitchen and putting some shelves in the bedroom as things get out of control, Johnny.
Yeah.
It will happen to you.
I think it would be easier to do a segment where there were questions directed at the significant others and then they responded. Like
okay. Also, we're basically out of questions in the Ask the Podcast thing. So ask us more questions and also ask our wives questions and we'll see if we can get them to answer for us. That would be an interesting thing to have on the show.
I mean, there's a lot more questions, but they're just in the wrong channel. But anyways, we don't talk too much. Let's not talk too much.
I know. Stuff. All right, Johnny, we're moving on. What are you buying and what are you playing?
Okay, I'm not playing anything because who has time for that? Even though I want to be playing things, I want to be playing things so bad right now because I could use the relaxing time. I bought a couple of comics. No one wants to hear about that. I remember we were talking about Halloween Harry.
Yes, I do. The Apogee game.
So this episode's going to be out of order, so it's going to sound weird. But I bought Halloween Harry that you're probably going to hear about on the episode after this. So I bought that because that's cool, and it's a little diskette. I didn't realize the 3.5 would come in just such a small little case. I expected something jewel case size, like CD jewel case, and it's all small and cute and easy to store. So that was nice. I bought that, and I got a variant for a GBA game of the Hot Wheels double pack, which comes with the diecast car. So yeah, that's what I bought.
The 1983 Lightning Fire Red.
No, they're not going to understand that reference either.
Look forward to that reference in the episode of Collector's Quest that I edited today that I'm not going to post tomorrow.
Yeah. So no, this is just a GBA game, and there's this double pack that already exists, but there's one that came with the diecast metal or diecast. Like I need to tell you, it came with fucking Hot Wheel. But it's just a sticker on that 2-pack that says Hot Wheels diecast car included inside. So yeah, it's like kind of a hard variant to find, and I did so with some help. Thanks, Coffee with Mr. Saturn, my GBA hookup.
GBA hookup, even, you might say.
Yeah, I did.
Where does he get all these games? He has like everything on GBA. What is going on, Johnny? Is he just getting all the recently listed GBA good stuff that never comes up?
I don't know.
Coffee with Mr. Saturn, tell us where you're getting these games.
No, don't, because he's got sources and like that's what I'm saying. Like he's like, well, no, then you would be buying and then I don't make any profit. Like I said, it's okay for people to make some money sometimes.
No, I love it. I mean,
dude, if you need GBA games, you should follow him. Like he puts good stuff up. Even though he sometimes puts up Pokemon cards, so we gotta
bummer
for that. Sorry, Coffee with Mr. Saturn. Anyways. That's what I bought. I didn't play anything. So there. What about you? What'd you buy? What'd you play?
I also don't think I'm playing anything. I'm just not in the mood, Johnny. I got a Zelda's Adventure. Did I say that on the show?
No, you didn't.
Johnny, I got a Zelda's Adventure. The rarest Zelda game? ? Like clearly not the rarest in terms of variant or limited edition.
Right. I'm like, wait, did you talk about this on the last episode?
Oh,
I don't
boy.
remember.
So I just edited it and I don't remember it. Anyway, I got a Zelda's Adventure, and guess where it came from, Johnny? You've already guessed this, but let's pretend you are doing this for the first time.
The Netherlands.
It 100% came from the Netherlands. I don't know what
mine also came from the Netherlands.
Everyone's Zelda Adventure came from the Netherlands. What happened in the Netherlands with this game?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer, but like half the Zeldas are like German. Just I don't know what's going on.
So fun fact that we brought up on the show, but yeah, the Zelda's adventure with the Dutch text on the back is by far the more common one. There's one I think with Spanish text on the back, and there's like 4 or 5 languages in each of them. But the one with Spanish text is way harder to find, and then you can have a rare variant of a rare game. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Johnny, I bought Diamond Trust of London limited edition.
Oh yeah, which is something we talked about last episode that won't make sense here. Cool.
We might have talked about it on After Dark or something, but
maybe.
Literally, did you make a joke about it? You brought it up. It got brought up. I went to eBay, and there was a limited edition for sale with 1 day left for $100. I'll disclose the price on this one. I have no idea if that's a good price. Johnny constantly talks about it. He's like, it's the rarest DS game. And what sold me is it comes with stamps, a coin, and some kind of banknote from Angola. I believe these are all real.
This is like everything Tyler loves.
I know. Dude, I fucking love this like random tchotchke. Like they're real collectibles or just worthless collectibles. But fuck, I love it. It's so cool that a video game comes with this stuff. And apparently it's like a boring board game that puts you to sleep. Can you play this in a 3DS? I might actually try to play this tonight if it's comprehensible.
You should.
Not tonight. It's 4 a.m., but maybe tomorrow.
Well, so I'll tell you, yours is the only one that sold CIB. The last one that sold, that was sealed, was like $425 or something.
I'm feeling great about that because if it was sealed, I wouldn't be able to get at the stamps and stuff, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm 100% in on getting this complete in box then, Johnny.
Yeah, you did it. Nice work.
And then the big thing I got, Johnny, I've posted this on Instagram. Also, we're going to call back to the time I said I was affected by a fake sale. Let me tell you about the saga of obtaining Yoshi no Cookie Kurapon Oven to Cookie, Johnny.
Oh, no.
I think the second most expensive video game I've ever purchased next to Outback Joey.
Oh, no. Please tell me it's not fake.
It is not fake, which is always something you have to worry about when buying stuff from Japan, because returning stuff is not really a possibility when you get screwed. Anyway, let me tell people, no one knows what this game is, so let me tell you what Yoshi no Cookie Kurapon Oven to Cookie is. It is an expanded version of Yoshi's Cookie. So it boots up into a menu where one of the options is play Yoshi's Cookie, and the other one I believe is translates to cooking mode, where you run Yoshi around a world map and you go into these various kitchens, and apparently you collect real life cookie recipes and then bake them in your national brand microwave, because this game was entirely created to promote national microwaves. Fucking wonderful. This was 1994, to be clear, on when Nintendo was putting out specific games to promote microwaves. I couldn't figure out the cooking mode. I played it a little bit. I guess I did play something. I played the cooking mode in Yoshi's Cookie Kurapon Oven to Cookie, and it's all Japanese, and I couldn't figure out how to make any cookie recipes. But the interesting thing about it is it's like one of the rarest Nintendo games. Definitely one of the rarest Super Famicom games. There were 500 promo copies made, apparently. I could not figure out how you actually got them. I found one source that said you could only get them by getting it with the microwave, but it was an English source, and I don't really trust English sources on really obscure Japanese stuff like this.
Why not?
Show me a real Japanese source. If I saw that on like a Super Famicom blog, I would just take it. I wouldn't even question it, Johnny. But the fact that it was like an English source, no, forget it. Yeah. English people don't know anything about Super Famicom, including myself. So, what'd you say?
I said likewise.
Okay. Let me tell you about the saga of purchasing this game, Johnny. This game was up on Yahoo for months, maybe weeks, sure felt like months. So the way Yahoo Auctions works, it's different than eBay. So when someone puts in a bid in the last 5 minutes, it adds 5 minutes to the timer so everyone has a chance to bid. So this means I didn't want to pay. I was willing to pay the listed price, but I was waiting for it to come down in price. So I would have to, it was always set up at a 1-day auction. I would wake up every day, come to my computer, and watch this auction end to make sure no one bidded on it. Because if someone bid on it, I would want to bid against them to win it. But if no one bid on it, I would want the seller to think there's no interest and to drop the price.
It's a dangerous game.
It's a very dangerous game. And this went on for like weeks. Like all I was doing was letting more people see it and gain interest in it. This is
like the least Tyler thing you've ever done.
It's true. This game is like a $2,000 game. So if I could get like some money off on it, Johnny, I would have been very happy to. So I'm watching this like literally every morning. I wake up and I make sure no one bids on this game. And the seller doesn't decrease the price. He starts increasing the price. So every day the price would go up like 10,000 yen. And then randomly it would go down and he would jump around. He's basically being an asshole to me specifically. I can't imagine how many people were actually crazy enough to look at this auction every day besides me. So he's just jumping it around. And then one day he's just like, fuck it, I want to get rid of this game. He starts a 1 yen auction and lets people bid it up. So I wake up, it's like, it's go time because people are bidding on this. There's no more crazy high price anymore. And we bid it up and there's a buy it now that doesn't disappear. And the buy it now, it was something ridiculous, like $5,000, as if $2,000 for this game is not ridiculous. So it got bid up to like 2,500 or something like that. And then I'm like, well, shit, I'm out. I'm not going to pay that for this game. That was above my limit. And it got bought out for the $5,000. And I'm like, I can't believe someone just paid that. I'm never going to own this video game. And then a week later, it comes back because guess what? The guy who bought it now against me, asshole, didn't end up paying for it. So I got it the second time around. Second time around, I will say I bid, I think $300 less than my previous high bid because I was already like wary of shenanigans here. And someone put in a bid to find out my max bid and then shilled me up to exactly my max bid by retracting their original bid. Just excellent thing to do. Thank you, whoever did that. I'm happy I lowered my max bid. Anyway, I paid a fuckload of money for this Yoshi's Cookie game, Johnny. But it is, I'm excited to have it. And I'm very happy it's real. And
wow, that's quite the story.
Talk about a game, like so much effort and money has gone into acquiring this game. Like talk about a game no one cares about. Like the opposite of what I should be buying. I should be buying like the mintest Super Mario Brother hang tab I can find, and I'm buying a Yoshi's
Not unless
Cookie
you want to be
version.
Scammed.
You're right. I would be scammed. I can't get scammed with Super Famicom because no one can grade them.
That's right.
Something that might come up in an episode in the future.
Whoa. You have to retitle that episode now to How Not to Get Scammed.
Yeah, you know, I bet our listener numbers would actually go up if we had stupid clickable titles like that.
We definitely would. Like sometimes we do dumb clickbaity titles, like as a joke, but we do it for that one. See if it helps. So relevant.
No, that's so dumb, Johnny.
How not to get scammed.
We would definitely get
how
just,
not
like,
to get
hate
played.
We would get hate from people who don't really get that it's a joke and would take it kind of seriously. So I don't want to do that.
But now this episode will be out and they'll hear it and they'll know it's a joke. They'll be in on it.
I bet most of our audience does not listen to every episode, let alone, 2 hours into every episode?
That's fair. All right. Any more you want to add? Any other sweet buys?
I think those are some pretty sweet buys, Johnny.
They are pretty sweet buys, and they expensive, so they ate up all of your dollars.
Do you remember how hard I was looking for a Bucky O'Hare? So after I bought all this shit, 2 people, including Colton Murphy, has like a super nice 100% complete Bucky O'Hare, and he's like trying to give me first dibs on it. And I've blown like all my money on this bullshit. Like Bucky O'Hare is just not in my budget right now with all this other shit I've been buying.
Just go buy the Bucky O'Hare. Just get it so you never have to talk about it again.
That is what I did with basically Zelda's Adventure and this Yoshi's Cookie. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm buying it. I can't, like, fuck Bucky O'Hare. Like, Bucky O'Hare is a B-list thing in my collection. I'm sorry, Bucky O'Hare. you're not in the world of the Marios and Zeldas, which kind of technically Yoshi's Cookie has Mario on the front. Zelda's Adventure is a Zelda game. So those are A-listers is what my implication is, which is wrong. But yeah.
So anything else, Dad? We good?
We're good. Let's end the show. Right. Quick 2 hours, breezy.
But first, just so everyone knows, hey, I bought a graded comic. That was weird.
Oh, was it maybe a spider web of Spider-Man 32?
No, it was Detective Comics 880. The Joker cover, I showed you.
The one where he's exploding into bats.
Yes.
What a cool cover. I'm pretty sure I saw Comic Tom wearing a shirt of that cover.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like comics aren't new to me. I wanted to get a graded comic because I'm going to grade a few of my favorites. And this is like one of my all-time favorite Batman covers. I bought it. And you know what? I don't hate it. The way I hate the way graded games feel, I don't feel that way about comics. I was like, yeah, this feels great. And like, it's easy to store. I was totally into this thing. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
I was wondering if we could turn that into an entire episode. I don't think we can. Let's just talk about it like for 10 seconds now. So you could have like, theoretically, no matter how big your card collection is, like if you grade everything, it's not really any bigger than just having binders full of those cards because they stack up and you could sort them into shoeboxes super nicely. What is the most graded games like someone could feasibly have? Like 1,000? Like I'm looking at a shelf full of like the GameCube garbage that I bought. And I've got, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 things on a Billy bookcase shelf as opposed to like 10 that I could fit if they were graded.
I will say it would be easier to buy shelving because you could just buy Billy's and like those fit sealed games very nicely.
But have you seen, there are like dealers and high-end collectors who have like all graded games, like all WATA stuff, and they'll have like bookcases and bookcases of graded WATA games. And it's like, in sheer quantity, you can't own that many. Like we both have a ridiculous amount of games. We both have over 10,000 games. And it's just, like you would have to have a mansion to have 10,000 WATA graded games.
No, you
would also have to be able to have the budget of a mansion to afford 10,000 WATA graded games.
Yeah, I think, look, we can get into it, but I also think like not sealed, graded games are ugly. I think they're ugly. I don't like the badge on top. Like, I just want, like, I've questioned this. I don't understand the WATA thought process of like making them non-stackable entities and also like not getting like, I just don't like, unless you display it facing front, you don't really get a good display, which then goes into like, how many can you actually keep? If it's me, and this is feedback that I would give them at any point, but I would make them as square and as rectangular as possible, as thin as I could get it, and make all the badges in a place that were not obtrusive, so I can stack them and get as many on a shelf as possible while still having some aspect of display. I would go hard on like that kind of stuff, but it's just not a thing. So it's not a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think on shelves, they're ugly. It looks so weird having like 100 WATA games on a shelf. I think having like one or two within a display incorporated, or even like a nice shelf where everything's facing forward, I think they look totally fine. But just having like shelves and shelves of WATA games, I don't think looks as nice as having shelves and shelves of complete in box NES games.
Agree.
And oh my God, as you said,
just
thick.
Trophy pieces. As a trophy piece, it's nice.
So WATA ran out. I think they just got them back in stock, but they've been out of DVD cases because, I mean, you can't, there are like $10 games now that people just buy off eBay and send to WATA. It is madness. So there was a sale for BioShock Infinite for $1,100. That game is literally $10 shipped for the exact same variant on eBay. Obviously, they're all gone now. Like literally 20 copies sold within a second once that sale went down. And WATA's DVD case, like the company wasn't founded on the idea that people are going to send in a shitload of DVD cases, so they don't have a unique DVD case. It's still like twice as thick or 3 times as thick as it needs to be. And it's just like, God, people are going to have so many of these stupid games and it's going to take up 3 times as much room as they need to be. Like, I feel like some people might just use VGA just because like they can fit more games, Johnny.
I agree. Like this this graded comic, like people say like these cases are big, and I'm just like, man, this feels good. It feels firm. I feel like my comic is protected, and now it displays well. Like the badge is on the top, but it's all squared. Like I could stack it. Like I could do anything. Like if I decided I hated this, I could put it, like I plan to have I have my pinball machine, so I'm getting a bunch of Batman ones, but I just want to like hang a couple of comics by the pinball machine. It's why I buy like my favorite Batman covers, but I'm going to use like this J shelving stuff. Anyways, it's like a slide. I can slide a comic in or out. So I plan on rotating through some and you just can't do that with a water case. They're like just so thick, and games I don't think they display as well en masse, right? Like I can't hang them on a wall. Comics are a little different. So I
saw someone, I believe, for Wata cases, I think someone made a 3D printed thing literally to like screw a Wata game into your wall, Johnny. So you're wrong. You can hang them on your wall.
Okay. Well, that's good. But yeah, because I don't like the very nature of grading things, but like comics, I'm literally never going to open a comic. I'm just going to read it on my app. And I'm like, yeah, man, this I can put it on my shelf now and not like worry about it, or like on my wall and not worry about it. Plus it's going to look nice by the pinball machine. So I'm very happy.
All right. That's your CQ after dark, because this has nothing to do with anything, Johnny.
Nope. All right. Tell us where we can find you, Tyler.
I'm Default Gen, Default GEN on Instagram, Video Games Sage, and I guess YouTube. Also, people wanted me to make like a retro gem miner on this Wata stuff.
Didn't you already did that?
I'm not doing what I mean, like in response to the Karl Jobst video.
I know,
I
but
just don't think it's happening.
You already did a valid criticism video.
Oh no, they wanted me to do like a funny video.
I know. I'm making a joke.
God, fucking damn it.
Already made this.
Ding! I need to get a real bill in here. I don't there's like a mob right now. I feel like no matter what I did, even if I was I don't know if you know, Johnny, retro gem miners sometimes gets misinterpreted. And Karl's video is already like probably causing Dennis's life to be pretty hard right now, and like maybe causing some other mobs that are of questionable or not yet 100% valid in their beliefs. I wouldn't want to make a retro gem miner to add fuel to that fire.
Yeah, I'm not into feeding mobs or anything. Like I don't like trials in the court of public opinion. I don't like adding on to it, which is kind of why I was like a little leery of even doing this. But here we are. We've done it. And again, thank you guys for taking the time to listen to that. Our other host who couldn't be with us today is the Art of NP on Twitter and on Instagram. So go ahead and search for that. He's also on YouTube. So he's got an art show coming up soon in Simi Valley. If you can make it there, I believe that's next weekend. Where you can see all this stuff displayed, and you'll be able to see a small feature of him in the video game documentary I think it's just called Retro. That's coming out soon, and that's Anti-Hero Productions, I believe, on Instagram. So check that out.
I'm sorry, it's just called Retro? That seems
I don't know if that's just called Retro. I didn't look it up. It's just occurring to me that is going to be out soon. So I'm trying to give it a plug and doing a very bad job.
It was awful. How could it just be called Retro?
I don't know. Do you go to his Instagram and look for me? And you can find me at the Discord when I can get there. Sorry, guys.
It's called Rarity, Retro Video Game Collecting in the Modern Era.
Okay. Thank you. Wow, I totally got that 100% wrong. I wasn't even in the same universe. That's good. Anyways, you can find me nowhere, like barely on Instagram, barely anywhere. But you can reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out to me on the Discord. I do a good job answering if I'm tagged still, but like just being organically in the conversations right now, I'm super bad at. So sorry about that. It will get better. That's all we got for this show. Again, hope you enjoyed our medium take. Please be gentle. Please be gentle. I know feelings are hot. People are running hot on this, but let's all just take a step back and try to be reasonable and nice to each other. Thanks so much. That's it for the show. Bye!
That is our show. No errata this episode. I'm just going to say we got everything 100% right, and everyone totally agrees with every single point we made, because that's how topics like this work in the hobby. Thank you to ApeBit, APEBit, that's apebit.bandcamp.com, for making our intro music, and thank you to the patrons: Richard, patron number 1, Bowden, Canadian Variant Alert, Chris Glidden, Nintendo World Champion, Daniel Jacksvik, High-End Collector, Andrew Brim, 50 Hertz is good enough for me, Andre, Video Games Were Meant to Be Slabbed, Brandon Ackley, Brian Gupta, and Pocky and Rocky with Becky, Mint Condition, Brian J. Mora, The Strictly Limited Super Rare Bruno, Sophisticated Investor, Cartmageddon, Fat Cat Collector, Chris Jackson, Chris, SNK, Too Many NES Accessories, Morozek. God, that is a mouthful every time. Johnny's GBA hookup every single time. Coffee with Mr. Saturn. Where does he get those games? Playing with Power, Connor Strange. The last game you need for the set, Corey O'Brien. Unpunched Hang Tab, Dustin Beagle. He has returned to judge this city, Eric Addison. Man of Nintendo in the world of Nintendo, Funky Brewsta. The actual Shinobi, Jasonic the Kid. Jeff the Game Boy Ferris. Lance, Lord Hardstyle Z. And Lady Hardstyle, we're counting both of them. The Degenerate, Matt Ball. Funkoland Employee, Platform Agnostic. Read the Game Shark. The Famicom Box, Retro Game Enthusiast, Sean the Gamer Collective, Previously Unknown Variant, Tim Walker, From the Internet, Todd Fisher, Can't Put Limits on Collecting, VG Collectaholic, The Millennium, Will Joe, Keeper of the Zelda Variant, 0x Def Code, getting the full PS2 set because Stefan won't, all caps, Wada 9.8, A++, Benji, The Actually Rare, Bird Dog Gaming, Brandon Rogers, whose favorite episode is the wrestling episode. Still finding deals in 2021 somehow. Colton Murphy, David Green, he's got that on vinyl. Derek Lauer, who made me edit this show. Don Libby, the hero of time, actually understands the Zelda timeline. Jeff Pierce. Dude, I think I forgot about you for like 2 months. I noticed that I had one less thing on my list than we have actual patrons. I'm sorry you didn't have a nickname for a few episodes. I missed you. I'm sorry, here's me making it up to you by dedicating 10 seconds at the end of the show to apologizing. Thank you, Jeff Pierce. Jeremy Jarvis here for the Pog Talk. Jim Jacobs, world record holder of Best Collection. Red Pyramid Thing, Jonathan Shados. Video game art collector because video games are art, Justin Chichio. Lateral Movement, who's got a Donkey Kong kill screen coming up. Michael, posted in the Discord right now, Chiaramonti. Nick, the video game database Morgan. Homebrew Mastermind, Divertov. The other guy who collects Korean releases, Peaceful Games. Dungeon Master, Reed Stubenik. The Promoter, Retro RPG Podcast. High Definition 16-bit graphics, Stevie Lou. Todd, Obscure Variant Chaser Chase. Zaventori, and he has all 97 Nintendo games. Andrew, actually collecting N-Gage O. B-Nugs! B-Nugs! Colby, he is Sinistar. Corhagen does what Nintendo don't. Daniel McArdle, who thought this was the Retronauts Patreon. The Xbox Authority, Danny Gomez. Should I just call you like the modern database Danny Gomez now? I don't know. The Philatelist, Dork Overlord, My Childhood PlayStation Idol, Game-Rave.com. Joe actually plays his games, Champity. Joseph Rogers got 50,000 on Double Dragon. Collector of everything, including Atari. Kalen McAteer. Sam, Sega Mark III Marks. And Sean, the video game Illuminati LaCroix. Thank you guys so much.